Hello everyone and welcome to the weird, scary and horrible parts of humanity. Today we are looking into the disappearance of 18-year-old Mona Elizabeth Blades in New Zealand, who has been missing for nearly 50 years. Blades was born in 1957 in Hastings, New Zealand. She was the daughter of Peter Blades and Waramina Blades, with a sister Lillian and a brother Tony. She then moved to Hamilton and lived with her sister Lillian, her brother-in-law Tom and baby niece Angela. She worked as a shop assistant but planned to start a new job at a dairy on Tuesday the 3rd of June 1975. On the first day of the Queen's birthday long weekend on Saturday the 31st of May 1975, Blades was hitchhiking from Hamilton to Hastings, a distance of 308 kilometres by road, in order to visit her family home and surprise her family with a visit, and bought some colourful plastic tumbling blocks for her nephew's first birthday. This was a last-minute decision and she did not tell her family that she was coming. She did not own a vehicle and her sister and brother-in-law were unable to drive her the full 308 kilometres to Hastings, leaving her to hitchhike. Tom dropped her off on Cambridge Road near State Highway 1 early in the morning on Saturday the 31st of May, and she was to hitchhike the rest of the way to Hastings. At the time she was wearing light green slacks, a green rugby jersey with a white collar, with a fawn jersey underneath. She was also wearing a black duffel coat, brown shoes with yellow laces, and she was carrying a hitchhiker's brown bag and an older shoulder bag. Even though hitchhiking is incredibly dangerous, it remains illegal in New Zealand, and compared to many other parts of the world, is still comparatively safe and not uncommon. Even today, long-distance public transport is minimal in New Zealand. There is one intercity bus a day from Hamilton to Hastings, which takes 5 hours and 40 minutes. Long-distance trains operated by Kiwi Rail remain minimal and barren at best within New Zealand. Other than a tourist train between Dunedin and Pukerangi, there are no passenger trains on the South Island of New Zealand south of Christchurch. Equally, many regional cities within New Zealand are not linked by passenger rail. Hence, New Zealand has one of the largest rates of car ownership on a per capita basis, with the fourth highest per capita at 837 cars per 1,000 people, or 4,221,182 cars in 2019, with a strong car ownership culture. For the tiny minority without cars, even today the options are limited, and you can still see numerous people hitchhiking in New Zealand, particularly in the South Island. Blade successfully hitchhiked with a female motorist from Hamilton to Tapo, a distance of 145 kilometres along State Highway 1, and she was dropped off at the information centre in Tapo. In Tapo there were multiple sightings at different times of her, however the times never completely added up, which led police to believe that witnesses may have seen multiple women hitchhiking who resembled Blades. At approximately 10 AM, a witness saw a girl matching the description of Blades wearing a long green parka on the corner of Lake Terrace and Titrophenga Street in Taupo. Soon after, a woman at the information centre reported that she had spoken with a young woman who was going to Hastings to visit her parents and had a pack which she left by the door to the information centre as she went inside the information centre. At 10:30 AM, a man working at the Waipapahi fruit shop who knew Blades saw her walking past the shop and joined another female hitchhiker, and both got into a darkish blue or green station wagon which drove in the direction of State Highway 5 heading to Napier. From Napier it is a 19.9 kilometre drive to Hastings. There were 3 further sightings of a woman matching Blades' description between 12 PM and 1:30 PM on the 31st of May 1975 at the Spa Hotel in Taupo. 2 of these witnesses saw her drinking with another girl at the Spa Hotel in Taupo. Another witness spoke to a young woman who identified herself as Blades, and he said that she got into a red Toyota station wagon outside the bottle shop at the Spa Hotel. This red Toyota station wagon was seen travelling with a bikie gang in a convoy at a service station in Taupo. Later that evening, a female witness saw 2 people carrying a rolled up piece of carpet into the back of a red Toyota station wagon. Furthermore, in Tapo on State Highway 5, a truck driver saw blades getting into an orange Datsun 120Y station wagon, which was heading in the direction of Napier at about 10 a.m. While this contradicts other sightings of blades, with her allegedly being seen at the Spa Hotel in Taupo at between 12 o'clock and 1:30 p.m, blades getting into the Datsun 120Y station wagon, particularly at the time by New Zealand police, was widely accepted as the last official sighting of blades alive. The person driving the orange Datsun 120Y station wagon was a balding, large middle-aged man. Witnesses saw the Datsun veer off Highway 5 and stop 200 metres down the rural dirt track, Matea Road in Rangitaki, 55.7 kilometres southeast of Taupo. A woman fitting Blade's description was seen in the back of the Datsun when it drove off to the rural dirt track, while the balding, large, middle-aged man was seen in the driver's seat. A fencing contractor drove past the car on Matea Road and saw the driver and a woman matching Blade's description in the car. A short time later, he drove in the other direction down Matea Road past the Datsun and saw the car parked, but also saw that it was empty. About a month and a half later, New Zealand police received an anonymous letter from a female hitchhiker who was hitchhiking on State Highway 5 on the 31st of May 1975 and was picked up by a man driving an orange Datsun station wagon who said that he was heading towards Napier. However, the behaviour of the male driver made her feel uncomfortable, so she told him to pull over and let her out, which he obliged. The woman was then picked up by an elderly couple and they passed by the same Datsun station wagon, which was passed by the side of a road. The woman caught a glimpse of a number plate and remembered that it started with H, ended with the number 4, and the second letter was either K, V or E. The woman sent the letter to New Zealand police anonymously because her parents told her not to get involved. New Zealand police sent out a public plea for the writer of the letter to come forward and provide more information, but this never transpired. As Blade's trip to Hastings was a surprise for her nephew's first birthday, no one knew that she went missing until the end of a long weekend on the Monday when she did not make it back to Hamilton, and when she did not start her new job at the dairy, she was reported missing. Hundreds of New Zealand police from Taupo, Rotorua, Hamilton and Auckland combed the 200 kilometres of highway between Tokoroa and Napier. However, New Zealand police may have indirectly hindered the investigation from the beginning. Witnesses and the public may have been misled due to photographs at the time featuring a different hairstyle to that which Blades had at the time, as the photo used, seen on the left, was when she was a bridesmaid and her hair was long, which may have confused witnesses as to whether or not they saw Blades, and one witness said that they thought that due to her haircut, that Blades was a man, as when she went missing, she had a shorter mullet-style haircut. Eventually, in 2018, the New Zealand police would release a computer-generated image of what Blades would have looked like at the time of her disappearance, with her shorter mullet-style haircut, which is to the right. Additionally, the truck driver who saw Blades get into the orange Datsun station wagon changed his story when re-interviewed, and may have been influenced by what he read in the media. There are at least 500 suspects in the disappearance of Blades who either owned or had driven orange Datsuns and were investigated by police, with the open inquiry lasting for 6 months. One of these is John Freeman, who rented an orange Datsun the long weekend that Blades disappeared. 2 weeks later, the day that police went public with information that they were looking for a Datsun, Freeman shot and killed a student at St. Catherine's College, a private Presbyterian boarding school for girls aged between 4 and 18 in Epsom, Auckland, the largest city in New Zealand. After this, Freeman would kill himself. However, no evidence was found linking him to the disappearance of Blades besides renting the Datsun. A second suspect was Charlie Hughes, originally from Hamilton, who moved to Sydney in Australia to become a caretaker, and he has continued to remain a suspect. At the time that Blades disappeared, he worked for a house removal company, and he drove an orange Datsun as his company vehicle and had difficulties accounting for his whereabouts over the Queen's birthday long weekend. Additionally, on his odometer, there were significant kilometres to cover a trip that weekend, from Hamilton to Napier and back. Hughes has stated to newspapers and television journalists that he has nothing to do with the disappearance and alleged murder of Blades. He was interviewed by police several times throughout the 1970s, 1980s, and in 1997 as well as 2005. In 2005, Rotorua police officers Detective Sergeant Tanya Blackburn and Detective John Hope flew to Sydney to interview Hughes and interviewed him for 5 hours. He voluntarily gave a DNA sample. In the same year, the TVNZ news programme Sunday, broadcast on TVNZ1, deduced that Hughes was the driver of the Datsun, which picked up Blades. However, these allegations against Hughes have come to nothing. A third suspect, who is unnamed, owned an orange Datsun at the time of Blades' disappearance. A fourth suspect is a former traffic officer, Mervyn Derek Hinton. He told police when questioned, "If you think it was me, prove it." On the 25th of January 2012, New Zealand police dug up the concrete laundry floor of Hinton's former home in Kariora, which is in the Bay of Plenty. However, they turned up nothing. Hinton's daughter, Pauline Barrett, said that she was not surprised that they did not find anything after investigators drilled 80 centimetres and probed a further 80 centimetres down. Barrett stated that her father did not own an orange Datsun station wagon and owned an orange Toyota Corolla, and also had photographic evidence to show that the concrete in the laundry room of Hinton's house in Kariora was laid before Blades went missing. However, former police sergeant Tony Moller is convinced that Hinton, who was a former friend, was the murderer, and insisted that in 1975 Hinton owned an orange Datsun station wagon and ordered both of his cars, the Datsun and the Toyota Corolla, to be repainted shortly after Blades went missing. However, a 1978 photo by Barrett shows that her father's Toyota was still orange at the time. Hinton also bears no resemblance to the middle-aged balding man allegedly seen in the Datsun with Blades at the time of her disappearance. He was never balding and had a full set of hair when he died. Moller also claimed that Hinton abused his wife and children, something which Barrett strongly denies. Hinton passed away in 2008. Moller continues to insist that Hinton is guilty and insists that the remains of Blades might be buried under another section of his house at the time of her murder in Kariora. In 2004, the case was reinvestigated by New Zealand police. In the same year, a shallow grave was found bearing the name of Blades at a garage in Huntly in the Waikato district, 32 kilometres north of Hamilton. This led to speculation that her remains might be buried under there. However, this was inscribed in concrete as a joke 6 years earlier, and the former owner of the property apologised to the family. Blades' father passed away in 2004. In 2005, her brother, Tony Blades, talked to the media for the first time, speaking to the newspaper The Daily Post. Blades noted that it was difficult for his mother, not knowing what had happened to her daughter. Blades noted, "Her mum thinks about her every day. She often breaks down and cries. They didn't even get to have a burial for her or anything. It's just the great unknown." In 2006, the reopening of the case by New Zealand police was wound down. In January 2011, the mother of Blades passed away. In 2018, the disappearance of Blades was featured on the TVNZ show Cold Case, which was broadcast on TVNZ1. Detectives found that police had focused too strongly on the hunt for the orange Datsun. During the broadcast, investigators alleged that Blades had gang affiliations at the time in Auckland, the biggest city in New Zealand, as well as Hamilton. It was speculated that gang members may have been travelling on the road where she disappeared to a gathering in Wellington, the capital of New Zealand, and were travelling through Tapo, which led to her disappearance. It was during the programme that the sighting of a red Toyota station wagon came to life, and it was later corroborated that this red Toyota station wagon was indeed travelling in a convoy with a bikie gang, with the red Toyota station wagon spotted at a service station outside of Taupo. The allegation, however, that Blades had fallen victim to a bikie gang was dismissed by Detective Inspector Mark Loper, who stated that their inquiries into the disappearance of Blades do not include associates of motorcycle groups. However, after the show aired, a witness told the Rotorua Daily Post that he had heard members of the Highway 61 Motorcycle Club talking about how they had killed Blades. This was during a conversation in an apartment in the Grey Lynn Westmere area in Auckland in 1976. The friend who stated that he had murdered Blades died in 2013. The reason why the man who witnessed the conversation between the Highway 61 Motorcycle Club members did not come forward sooner is because he believed that Blades was murdered by the man driving the orange Datsun, and his friend did not drive an orange Datsun. The Highway 61 Motorcycle Club is based in New Zealand and operates in Auckland and is an outlaw motorcycle gang having existed since 1968. There are chapters in Tapo and Hastings, among others. By the 1990s they were the largest outlaw gang in New Zealand, and in 2010, despite declining numbers, they were still the largest outlaw gang in the country, having expanded into Australia in the 1980s and set up a chapter in Brisbane, Queensland in 1998. The group are involved in drug dealing, rape, theft and murder. Blades' body and the goods that she was carrying were never found, and the case is currently cold. New Zealand police now believe that Blades did not leave Taupo on the day that she disappeared. However, her whereabouts and presumed murder, as well as who murdered her, are currently unknown. If you have any information, please contact the New Zealand Cold Case Department on 0800 Cold Case. That's 0800 265 32273. Thank you for watching. Please do yourself a favour and hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to inform yourself of when new videos come out. Also, why not hit that like button and leave a nice comment? It helps more than you know and your support is truly appreciated. Until next time, stay awesome, stay classy, be kind to everyone you meet, have an amazing day, and remember that truth is always more interesting than fiction.